right. If you guys give subs, I'll bring back the soundboard. Okay, that's all I got. Show me that you like the soundboard. How can I unsub? You can't. Raina Jen, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. You already know. Get the Oilers out. Get the Oilers out. The soundboard is a human right. Get the fucking Oilers out. You're sick. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not seeing enough gifted subs. Little B stand. That's fucking extortion. This is what I learned from Valuetainment. Okay? He told me Sigma Grindset. Always be on your Sigma Grindset. ABC. Okay? Always be cooking. Okay? ABS. Always be sobbing. And when you got a valuable product that people like, when you got the valuable product that people like the soundboard, you got to sell it. You got to sell it like life insurance, which is what I saw for many years. I have big businesses. I have so many businesses. I love America. America made me so rich. I love it. I love Jesus Christ. I love Jesus Christ, and I love America. I was in the military, okay? And the military taught me you got to sell life insurance. You got to do MLM. Write this down. Write this down. MLM, multi-level marketing. It's like marketing, but with multiple levels. Holy fuck. The subs are actually rolling in. Level 7 hype train. Oh my Lord. What? Alhamdulillah.
Holy Toledo.
Level 7. I'll play the song if we get to level 10.
Interruption of the capital flow of the workday. Like,
someone give me the live broadcast for Fox News.
Was engaging in a tremendous amount of social murder. Virtually every American has a similar experience, a shared experience where they have a loved one that spent their last days instead of spending them with their family, spending it on the phone, talking to their healthcare provider to maybe get a little bit of economic respite.
With me now is Fox News media and political analyst Howard Kurtz and Fox News contributor Ben Dominich. There's a lot more to this podcast as well. And Ben, to some degree, it sounded like the Bolsheviks preparing to come after Tsar Nicholas.
Look, Hasan Piker has become this significant influencer on the left, to the point that major candidates from the Democratic Party are having to answer questions about him, having to decide whether they're going to be on stage with him, be on his podcast, talk to him, etc. From what I can tell, he seems to be spouting the kind of just, not just horrible, on the moral level, but something that I think is politically an absolutely horrible thing for the Democrats to associate themselves with. He is talking about encouraging murder, encouraging theft, encouraging, taking things away, and he's doing it from this position that, quite frankly, I think, is arguing this to a bunch of people who are going to nod along because they are representing the elite opinion of the New York Times.
They want to be members of the cool kids.
Exactly. They want that very much.
Lost me with this.
The Fox News
America
opinion is pro CEO over workers, which is not the elite opinion. Thank you, Fox News.
Many things. And to give these crazy town views a platform, I can't fathom what the New York Times had in mind. And even worse is the bromance tone of the whole thing. We're so happy you're here. Thank you for sharing your great intellect with us. Give me a break.
Yeah, but here's what he said about Brian Thompson's murder and the fact that he thought that he could understand why some people were cheering it. Listen here.
Because of the pervasive pain that the private healthcare system had created for the average American, I saw so many people immediately understand why this death had taken place. And that is the reason why I think the reaction to Luigi Mangione, especially by younger generations, was not so negative.
I understand why this death has taken. It was a cold-blooded frickin' murder on the streets of New York.
But also, this. If you have problems with the healthcare system today, you're complaining about Obamacare. Like, it is actually the policies of the Democratic Party that are currently, in sway when it comes to the healthcare system in America. And for Hasan Piker to go down this road, I mean, I find the whole thing disgusting, but I also find it really bothersome that, you know, it's one thing if that's a sideshow. It's one thing if that's something that's going on within the Democratic Party.
Right.
You know, they've got some radical on the edge who's saying something like this. This guy is being mainstreamed over and over and over again.
But it wasn't just him.
Dude, this is universal.
This is as well. Right,
elites in both parties are actively saying, like, fuck this guy.
Well, okay,
have you noticed that?
Not only that, but saying that she got disappointed that this didn't provoke a bigger move in the Democrats to push for universal health care. Listen to this.
I don't know why I thought that Democrats would immediately take this up as pushing a sort of unified message towards universal health care. I don't know why I expected that. I don't know why I was disappointed that it didn't happen.
I don't know why I was disappointed that the Democrats didn't take up somebody being gunned down in the streets in cold blood and make a push for universal health care.
You're also talking about cool crimes, bank robberies. That's cool, apparently, and that sort of thing. And, you know, what really troubles me here is, look, I want to be clear. He has a big following online. He can say whatever he wants, free speech. I don't have a problem with that. But for the Times with this huge megaphone, to shine a spotlight on this just makes no sense. And whatever happened to the slogan, all the news that's fit to print? I mean, this is just atrocious judgment. And I was glad to see many Democrats going online saying, we don't want this guy as the symbol of our party.
The other thing is just, I'm sorry, I look at this guy and it's like the thing that, you know, sort of made him percolate up outside of his own entity was the fact that he was abusing his dog on an internet stream.
I get this.
Like,
I get that. Yeah, he was shock collar.
Yeah,
and the dog.
I get the sense you're not a fan. We got it, Sandra.
To speak any moment now at the White House. We are told that will be about health care. This after a major
That's so funny.
rules on marijuana. We're going to have that for you next.
That's so funny. They had to cut it off. They had to cut it. That is, for the record, this right here is quite literally the, this right here is the straight news coverage. Okay? This is the second time today. Expect primetime host to follow suit later today. Yeah. That is crazy. That is actually crazy. The podcast has 5,000 views. You have 6 extra viewers watching live right now. They are giving it more of a megaphone than it had on its own. I agree. You got so much motion. They're doing the Kaya shock slop on Fox fucking News. I know. I love the completely heinous shit Republicans do on a daily basis, and they find what you say reprehensible. How does anyone take them seriously? I don't think you are supposed to take it seriously. I think that the people that take it seriously are insincere. The New York Times featured Hasan Piker declaring that he understands murdering healthcare executives Brian Thompson as citing Frederick Engels for responding to social murder. This is the same person who said U.S. deserved 9/11 and advocated for political violence. This is the same newspaper that effectively banned a U.S. senator for citing the use of military to quell violent protests, which was later done on January 6th, says Jonathan Turdley. So here's a couple things. It's not about making arguments. It's about telling people what the socially acceptable position towards you is. Yes, this is a disciplining process. Okay, the 5 is going to definitely cover this as well. Every day we are moving closer and closer to Donald Trump coming out and being like, someone has to kill this Hasan Piker guy. But here's the thing. Okay, here's the important factor. A lot of people are confused as to why this conversation is taking place. I've also played the fool when talking about it, but I know exactly why this conversation is taking place. Both the establishment elite in the Democratic Party and its gatekeepers in mainstream media want to have safeguards on what kind of conversation is appropriate and acceptable and what is not. This is a disciplining mechanism. Okay? That's all it is. That's precisely what it is. My favorite media critic, Adam Johnson, obviously had some choice words on this issue as well. Where is it? Let me see if I can find exactly what he said. Oh, yeah, here it is. He was responding to Neera Tanden. saying this whole Piker discourse has been embarrassing to every person who has tried to make him the spokesman for the Democrats. Adam Johnson says people like to mock the triviality of the Piker discourse, but it's useful to see it as an elite moral panic / disciplining exercise. Tandon hired not one, but 2 architects of the Gaza genocide. CAP, Center for American Progress, is bankrolled by corporate America. These guys desperately needed to be 2015 forever. Absent a boss they can tattle to, their preferred method of disciplining, these manufactured controversies are all they have. That's all this is. The Overton window has slid completely out of control on the issue of Gaza, on the issue of Israel, and they're trying to do their very best to manage the conversation, to try to like pull it back, to yank it, right? And the more mainstream media outlets offer me any credibility or even a microphone to say what I want to say, the more they lose their fucking minds. Not understanding that I already have the platform, right? It's right here. And many people in the media recognize that I have the platform. And that's precisely the reason why they don't actually mind giving me an opportunity to speak, because from their perspective, they benefit from it, right? They probably benefit from it more than I do, because these guys think that this is the only way to reach out to a broad audience. It's not. That used to be the case, but that's no longer the case, right? The Third Way Bulwark Daily Wire Anti-Hasan Alliance works because they're all actually conservatives who don't want a progressive politics to disrupt the feckless establishment liberal order. Nikki McCann Ramirez writes, we will continue doing Hasan discourse until you are a desiccated husk being told that the next shitty candidate who loses to a fake Republican populace would have won if you had simply gone on my stream podcast show instead. That's the problem, okay? They wanna put the toothpaste back in the fucking tube, and they can't deal with it, so they're trying to at least yell at anyone who even looks in my direction, who looks in the direction of this community. They're trying to say, don't talk to this person. Do not talk to this person, or we will come after you. Not realizing that every single time they do stuff like this, they end up boosting my profile, and it backfires on them because it causes boomers, some of which will hate me, obviously the Fox News watchers, to look at what I have to say and go, yeah, I don't really agree with it. Whatever, who gives a shit? I'll forget about it and I'll move on. But it also causes boomers to look at what I have to say and go, actually, this person is not so crazy. I don't know why they are presenting him as crazy. I kind of agree with him. But let's move on from this now and let's get to monitoring the situation.
The Middle East, where Iran has released video of its forces seizing 2 ships in the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. put out similar footage earlier this week, building a pattern of tit-for-tat actions that one Iranian leader called an eye for an eye, a tanker for a tanker. So let's bring in Charlie Daggett. Charlie, some are concerned that we may be getting further away from an end to this conflict.
Yeah, good morning, Matt. No matter how you look at it, this is an escalation from both sides of the conflict. The ceasefire is still holding in that they're not shooting at each other, but they're finding other ways of projecting their power and control of the seas in and around that strait. A highly produced video released by Iran's Revolutionary Guards, complete with soundtrack and drone footage, purportedly shows commandos seizing 2 container ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Fast attack boats closing in on the
Are you planning on watching ContraPoints on Doomscroll today? Do you want me to kill myself with a gun? Because if the answer to that question is yes, then the answer to both of those questions is yes. If the answer to the question is no, then the answer to both of those questions is no.
MSC Francesca and the Epaminondas, an assault force scaling ladders before sweeping through the vessels. The crews are said to be safe, but Iran's message is clear. Commercial ships attempting to pass through the strait are legitimate targets. Iran claiming retaliation for the U.S. capture of 2 vessels this week, with a member of its parliament taunting an eye for an eye, a tanker for a tanker. In a further show of defiance, state TV aired video of what it said were 2 of Iran's advanced ballistic missiles in a pro-government rally, showing Iranians shouting "Death to America." while U.S. Central Command put out its own message listing the warships, military aircraft, and drones making up the U.S. Navy's own blockade south of the strait. At last tally, it said more than 30 vessels, the majority oil tankers, have been turned around.
So far from being as degraded as the Trump administration says, multiple U.S. sources tell CBS News.
I mean, that's the point, right? The entire point of this is so that Americans recognize that Trump is lying about the degradation that the Iranian military has withstood. And it worked.
Roughly 60% of the naval arm of the Revolutionary Guard is still intact, as well as roughly half of Iran's ballistic missile arsenal. Matt?
Charlie, I want to keep you here for a second. Earlier this month, Secretary Hegseth fired the Army Chief of Staff, and last night we learned that the Secretary of the Navy has also been fired. Obviously, these are unusual moves in the middle of a war. What can you tell us?
Yeah, Matt, with immediate effect is how the Pentagon put it in a statement announcing a dismissal of the Secretary of the Navy, John Phelan. This is in the middle of a war and the kind of naval blockade not seen in decades. Earlier this month, the head of the Army, that's General Randy George, he was asked to step down. Now, Phelan had no prior military experience, but George was a 40-year combat veteran. As for the impact of this conflict, Secretary of the Navy really doesn't have a lot to do with combat operations. That's largely down to the head of Central Command. That's Brad Cooper, who happens to be a Navy admiral. General George is a greater loss as the head of the Army, but at the moment, this is a conflict being waged by air and sea.
Could you talk a little bit about why your Navy Secretary was fired yesterday, sir?
He's a wonderful guy. I just put out a statement about him. He's a very good man. I really liked him, but he had some conflict with, not necessarily Pete, with some other, he's a hard charger, and he had some conflicts with some other people, mostly as to building and buying new ships. I'm very aggressive in the new shipbuilding, and somehow he just didn't get along with them. He's an excellent guy. I think he would have gotten along great with me. I didn't really deal with him too much, but he's a, I consider him to have done a very good job. I put out a nice statement about him. You got to get along, especially in the military. You got to get along, and some people liked him, some people didn't. And that's usually the truth about everything. But I found him to be a very good man, and I liked him a lot.
On the war with Iran, how long are you willing to wait until you get a unified response?
Don't rush me, Jeff. Guys like you want to say, oh, so we were in Vietnam like for 18 years. We were in Iraq for many, many years. We were in for all the, I don't like to say World War II because that was a biggie. But we were 4.5, almost 5 years in World War II. We were in the Korean War for 7 years. I've been doing this for 6 weeks. And their military is totally defeated. They're outside of the little wise guy ships. I call them the wise guy ships, the little boats that they have running around with guns in them. We'll take them out too when we see them. But their Navy is gone, their Air Force is gone, their anti-aircraft is gone. All of their anti-aircraft machinery is gone. Maybe they loaded up a little bit during the 2-week hiatus, but we'll knock that out in about 1 day if they did. We've done an amazing job. Their leaders are gone. Their leaders are all gone. Part of the problem is that, that's why I can't really answer your question. They have all new leadership and they're fighting like cats and dogs for who's going to control. Because we've created a real mess for them. But they've created a mess for the world over the last 47 years. They've killed a lot of our people. When you see a soldier, a young person, or now an older person, but a person without legs or without arms or with a face that got blown to pieces, most likely it was from Iran. It was Soleimani who I killed. Soleimani loved the roadside bomb. It was an evil.
I think pound for pound, Soleimani has probably assassinated more roadside bombers than he has been responsible for roadside bombs. Like, the dude was a straight up ISIS annihilator, right? I mean, people say he was very ruthless in a lot of the actions in Syria and whatnot, but like, for the longest time, these dudes were working in tandem with the United States government to take out Al-Qaeda militancies, to take out and offer targets for America to strike. A lot of people don't know this. A lot of people don't realize this, but like post 9/11, Iran was like, wait, what? We're a part of the axis of evil. The guys that did this to you, we hate. Those are our number one ops in the region. And then even after they sent their condolences for 9/11, even after that, America was like, no, you guys are our villains. You guys are our enemies, actually, in the story. They still turned around and were like, we'll still work with you guys because at the end of the day, you're fighting Al-Qaeda. We're fighting Al-Qaeda.
Genius. He was a brilliant general. Probably we wouldn't be as far advanced had I not taken him out. That was the beginning of it all. And then I ended the Obama horror show. The nuclear transaction that he made was horror. It gave him a road to the, you call it, I mean, what the deal that he did, the Iran nuclear deal, was so bad. It gave him a road to a nuclear weapon. And I will tell you, I deal with him. You cannot give Iran a nuclear weapon. This is all about a nuclear weapon. They cannot have the nuclear bomb, and they're not going to have the nuclear bomb. So we've taken out their military. We've hit about 75%.
Why is he obsessed with Soleimani? Because he, regardless of how, well, a couple of reasons. One, he's demented, and it's the last time his brain was capable of creating new memories, right? Because it was last term. Two, it is one of the most high-profile assassinations, and it came out of nowhere. It was a huge deal. It was a huge blow to the Iranian confidence. Soleimani was a very important figure for the IRGC, for the Iranian government. So it's almost as consequential as like assassinating the Ayatollah. And given the way that the Ayatollah was assassinated, this one was somewhat more, I wouldn't say it's more significant, but it was like, it came out of nowhere. You know what I mean? It was unexpected. Whereas like the Ayatollah one is, you know, this is after the second, this is the second perfidy attempt, you know, like it's it comes after, you know, October 7. When he killed Soleimani, Soleimani was in Iraq, and it kind of came out of nowhere.
Of our targets, we stopped a little early because they wanted to have some peace. And we have a blockade that's 100% effective. And they're getting no business. And as you know, they're not doing well economically, financially. They're not doing any business because of the blockade.
What? You got to stop playing defense for Iran, man. Iran's the reason my cousin got blown during his tour. Your cousin got a suck job, and you're over here complaining? What's the problem? What kind of tour did he go on? Like a musical band type situation? And then he got his penis sucked, and you're over here complaining? That's fucked up, man. What do you want? Your cousin to go on a tour with the band and not get sucked? Doesn't make sense.
They want to make a deal.
Not exactly sure what Iran has to do with your cousin getting a blowjob during his travels, but
we have been speaking to them, but they don't even know who's leading the country. They're in turmoil. They're in turmoil. So we thought we'd give them a little chance to get some of their turmoil resolved. But, you know, and
this is my favorite argument, by the way. It's like, oh, we're just giving them, a heads up. Like, we're actually letting them deal with their internal strife, you know? Who believes that? Like, if you had the upper hand right now, wouldn't you be striking extra hard?
Top 10 key groups that voted for Donald Trump back in 2024, but have shifted against him as he goes underwater. And we're going to start with the smallest movement and build our way up to the biggest movement. And we're going to do so looking at the pure data, the raw numbers, baby. So let's start off with Generation X, which I often feel like gets ignored, right? We talk about millennials, we talk about
is the lead poison generation.
Gen Z, we talk about the baby boomers. But Generation X was the most Trumpy generation. He won him by 7 points back in 2024. But down he goes now to minus 12 points on the net approval rating. That is a 19-point shift away from Donald John Trump. I dare say he has a bit of a St. Elmo's fire on his hand. I'm sorry, I just love all those movies back from the 1980s. Of course, another key group that voted for Donald Trump back in 2024, in which we saw a similar shift, is men, male voters. We talk about a gender divide in politics. Women vote for Democrats, men vote for Republicans, but now even men have turned against the President of the United States. Look at this. Going from plus 12 points, that was his win back in 2024 over Kamala Harris, and now his net approval rating minus 7 points. Again, we're talking about a 19-point shift away from the President of the United States. Male voters are saying, That's Mike Dikembe Mutombo. When it comes to Donald John Trump. Now, an even bigger shift that we're seeing is amongst suburban voters. You win.
Playwright Fox, thank you for the 10 gifted. Modi Maz, thank you for the 10. Yo, it's Stiffson, thank you for the 10 gifted. We are at level 9 hype train at 55%. About at level 10, we are going to play the song of the summer. The song of the summer. Argentina's President Javier Milei, Marx was a Satanist. Marxism is a satanic theory, a program opposed to God's program. Closed presence gifting 100 gifted subs. Tristan John with the 50. We've officially made it to level 10 hype train. You know what's coming. You know what's coming.
Blammo. Blammo. We are Charlie Kirk. We carry the flame. We'll fight for the gospel. We'll honor his name. We are Charlie Kirk.
Yep. You did it.
In the suburbs.
Song of the summer.
You'll win elections. That's how it works in the United States of America. You look at Fox News polling. Back in October of 2024, look at this. Donald Trump had a small lead, very much matching what he won by nationally, pretty much so. Look at that, a 2-point advantage. But look at this. In the suburbs, minus 20 points now in the net approval rating for Donald Trump, at least as recently as late March. We saw that in the special election last week, right? New Jersey's 11th district.
HasanAbi, it's oddly impressive how you barely touched the Strait of Hormuz. Yet when you do, you play like you've been secretly training for years. There's no buildup, no struggle. Just quiet, efficient skill that feels almost misplaced. You don't even seem that invested, which somehow makes it more impressive and slightly confusing to witness. You're not just good at monitoring the situation, you're gifted. We have officially... Oh, God, this is like old school brain rot in this community. Like taking a copy pasta, a chat GPT copy pasta of my gaming skills to praise my gaming skills so you guys can give me positive reinforcement so I keep playing more video games, turning into my skills on covering the Strait of Hormuz. This is peak like 2020 era HasanAbi community memes.
A lot of suburbs there went heavily for the Democratic candidate by about 20 points. So we're seeing this movement actually show itself down ballot. Now, a slightly bigger shift, but one is very much in the news right now, given the war of words between Pope Leo XIV and Donald Trump. Catholics. This was such a big component of Donald Trump's coalition back in 2024. Look at this. He won Catholics by 20 points. But now, even before Trump and Pope Leo butted heads, Trump was underwater, down into the Dead Sea. Look at this, minus 4 points. That's a 24-point shift away from the President of the United States. Now, if we're looking at a group that had a very similar shift, remember, back in 2024, it was all about young men, right? Young men moving away from the Democrats, moving towards the Republicans and Donald Trump. Well, they're shifting back again because take a look here. Men under 45 on Trump. In 2024, Donald Trump won them by 5 points. Look now, though. The net approval rating, minus 19 points. Again, that is a absolutely huge shift away from the President of the United States. We're talking about, again, an over 20-point shift away from Donald John Trump. Now, an even bigger movement, again, talking about groups that traditionally had been Democratic, but in 2024 saw a massive shift towards the Republican Party and Donald Trump. If we look at men of color, back in October of 2024, according to Fox News.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally because of his handling of the economy. And Sahil Kapoor is right. I'm a broken record on this, but Trump's firewall from 2016 to 2025 was voter trust in his handling of the economy, not MAGA culture wars. That firewall has now been breached, and his overall approval is sinking to unusual levels. The reason why, somewhat of a reason as to why he lost in 2020 was because of COVID, because COVID actually kind of cooked his chances. COVID cooked his like infallible record when it comes to the economy. Okay. And yes, this is the vibes that people have over his handling of the economy, and also what he has done for the stock market. Americans are unbelievably dumb when it comes to putting endless amounts of faith in the Republicans to quote unquote run the country like a business. Okay. Yes. And now officially he's at his lowest approval rating. Okay. His job approval rating is at its fucking lowest.